Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today we're going to talk about Bitcoin and the relationship with a 20-week SMA. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Let's go ahead and jump in. So, a lot of times, crypto can seem somewhat relative, just like time. And the reason it seems relative is because a lot of times sentiment changes constantly, okay? If prices, generally speaking, are above the average price of the last few months, then people feel pretty good. If it's below the price of the last few months, then people don't feel so great. And if you think about it, if you think about, say, speculation, not on Bitcoin, but using Bitcoin's moves either above the 20-week or below the 20-week as a gauge as to the health of the rest of the market, then I think you'd be doing yourself some favors if you start to think about that. Now, what I mean, generally speaking, is the relationship of the spot price of Bitcoin with the 20-week SMA can give us some insight, okay? It can give us some insight into how bad sentiment currently is. It can give us insight into how bad it could theoretically get. And it could also maybe help come up with strategies in terms of navigating this market cycle. One of the things you guys know is that, because we've spoken about it on the channel at length, is that when the price of Bitcoin is below the 20-week moving average, altcoins tend to not put in any crazy runs, okay? Yeah, I mean, Ethereum is at almost $2,400. So what, right? I mean, it's like, so what? Who cares? I mean, a few weeks ago, Ethereum was at $2,800, $2,900, and people were getting on the FOMO train, and now it's at $2,400. But it goes to show you how relative things are. But because Ethereum's price a few weeks ago was like $1,700, now everyone's super enthusiastic about a $2,400 Ethereum. The problem is what differentiates the current state of the market now to where it was a few months ago. If you remember, when Bitcoin was above the 20-week SMA and over here, it didn't really matter if Bitcoin pulled back by 20 or 30%. In fact, if you remember correctly, this is what we said we needed to happen. We needed that to happen for altcoins to continue going crazy. We wanted Bitcoin to have a pullback as long as it stayed above the 20-week SMA. And as long as Bitcoin was sort of playing in the sandbox up here, it didn't really matter what happened. This week was a 21% drop in late February. A lot of coins continue putting in new all-time highs after that, okay? So now Bitcoin has dropped below the 20-week SMA. And what has it done? Well, altcoins, to some degree, have lost confidence. You may say, well, what does that mean? What does it mean for altcoins to lose confidence? It's not that the price has to go to zero, though on some of them it might. What it means is that they don't have the confidence needed in the short term, for most of them, to put in new all-time highs, okay? Ethereum is at almost $2,400. That's still $2,000 away from the prior all-time high. Cardano is at $1.42. That's still over $1 away from its prior all-time high. So it's easy to rationalize why these moves from altcoins are sort of just immediately leading to new all-time highs. But I also think it's important to consider the idea that, generally speaking, when we're below the 20-week SMA, when Bitcoin's below the 20-week SMA, there is reason to be cautious. There is reason to be cautious. Now, does that mean that we haven't found a bottom? No, it doesn't mean we haven't. It doesn't mean we have or have not, okay? For instance, if you had loaded up on altcoins back in March of 2020 at the very bottom over here, and if you guys were watching this channel, we were very pro altcoin accumulation at that time, but it was because of where we were in the grand scheme of the cycle. If you remember over here, buying altcoins right here would have been very lucrative if you had bought and then you just held altcoins and you used Bitcoin as a guide. But this was a major capitulation. This was a major capitulation followed by an immediate V-shaped recovery, okay? And if you remember, a couple months ago, I said I do not expect this drop to be a V-shaped recovery. I do not expect it to be a V-shaped recovery. This is what a V-shaped recovery looks like. Okay, I mean, this is what it looks like. I mean, it goes down and then goes straight back up. And over here, the speculation was, well, I don't think we're going to have a V-shaped recovery. And if we don't have a V-shaped recovery, then that means, that means altcoins are likely not going to put in immediate new all-time highs. So what happened? We came down, and then so far we've just been going sideways, okay? But what's interesting is the relationship with the 20-week SMA. So the 20-week has started to curve down. And if we go look at this chart, it shows us, this is the natural log of the price of Bitcoin over the 20-week SMA. Okay, so it's just this simple equation. And what you'll notice is, or for anyone who's familiar with this function, the log of 1 is 0. So if the price is equal to the 20-week SMA, then it comes out to be 0. So if you draw a line at 0, anything above that line means the price is above the 20-week SMA. Anything below that line means the price is below the 20-week SMA. If it's above it and or the 21-week EMA, it's green. Okay? If it's below both of them, then it's red. Right now it's red. And you'll see the current area that we're at. Okay? So then the question becomes, well, how does the current sentiment of the price of Bitcoin compare to prior drops? How does it compare? Does it put us in the remote ballpark as to what we've seen in the past? Are we $10,000 away? Where would that put us? Well, remember, this metric is just based on the 20-week SMA. And also remember the 20-week SMA is dynamic. It's not static. So if we were to do the same type of dubious speculation in 4 weeks, it would give us different results. But a lot of us are, it's all relative to what happened last week. Okay, so if we were to speculate on what sort of would the sentiment be like for it to be somewhat akin to prior drops just based on the 20-week SMA, where we need to go? Well, if you look at the prior drops below where we currently are, we've gone below the current levels a number of times in history. The worst one was back in 2011 when Bitcoin was still in its infancy. It dropped incredibly quickly below the 20-week SMA, and you can see that it came all the way down here. The other ones were not nearly as bad. In 2014, we came down to this level, which corresponded to negative 0.52, negative 0.52, and then negative 0.52 for all of these major drops, okay? All of these major drops. And while we kept dropping further than this level, you can see that it took a while, okay? What happened is the 20-week SMA had to come down, and then we still went to the same extension from the 20-week SMA to the downside, but it wasn't as far separated from the 20-week SMA as if it had just done it immediately, okay? So that would have corresponded to around negative 0.53, negative 0.52 or something. And if you go over here and speculate on the current 20-week SMA and where the price would have to go to put us at similar extension to the downside from the 20-week SMA, it would put us at just under $28,000. We've already sort of been to those levels, almost, about $1,000 away. And we might say, well, Ben, I mean, this doesn't make sense because if we already went to those levels, why are we all the way up here? Remember, these are weekly. These are weekly data points, okay? It's weekly. And so you might not see it. You might not see it extended to the same degree as you may expect, okay? But anyways, what I think is interesting is if you look at, say, the drop in April of 2018, it came down to around negative 0.51. So if we saw for the price to be that extended from the 20-week, if it were to happen this week, then it would correspond to around $28,000, which again, we've already been at least lower than $29,000 a number of times. To experience the same level of downward extension from the 20-week that we experienced at the market cycle bottom in December of 2018, we would need to go all the way down to about negative 0.62 on that chart, which would correspond, if we saw for the price, to $25,000. But remember, this is based on the current 20-week SMA. I mean, if the 20-week SMA were, say, $40,000, then this would be different, right? This would be different in terms of the price that it would spit out. to be at the same, say, like downward extension from the 20-week SMA, because you have to remember that, as always, right, the 20-week SMA is dynamic, right? It changes with time. So you can see if the 20-week SMA were $40,000, to be at the same downward extension from the 20-week SMA that we saw in December of 2018, the price would actually have to go to 21.5K. So again, it's very dependent on where the 20-week SMA is. And you might say, well, the 20-week SMA is arbitrary. There's a lot of evidence to show that the altcoin behavior, altcoin season generally only comes when Bitcoin's above the 20-week. Now, there are some altcoins that can do really well at other phases, but the altcoin market as a whole tends to do a lot better when Bitcoin's above the 20-week SMA and going sideways than it is below the 20-week SMA and going sideways. Remember, it wasn't that long ago when Bitcoin was above the 20-week SMA and going sideways, and everyone loved it. Why did everyone love it? Because this was altcoin season, right? I mean, a lot of people made a lot of money up here on altcoins when Bitcoin was going sideways above the 20-week SMA. And I said, okay, well, if Bitcoin goes down, you can sort of get a knee-jerk reaction by altcoins. But that doesn't mean that they can't immediately put in new all-time highs. But how many altcoins have been putting in new all-time highs now that it's going sideways below the 20-week SMA? So you can see that the sentiment has changed a lot. Okay, the sentiment has changed. And as we navigate this cycle, we need to remain very cognizant of the 20-week SMA and where it is and our relationship to it. A lot of people like to say this time is different, right? I've heard that so many times. I heard all sorts of stuff when we were going up, that institutions would never let the price of Bitcoin fall 20% again or 30% again. So this is complete garbage, that it certainly will happen. If you look at the extension from the 20-week SMA, we talked about diminishing extension from the 20-week SMA. You see that it still follows that, right? I mean, nothing has actually changed. We're still getting diminished extension from the 20-week SMA every single time we go back up to it. So nothing has changed there. This model, by the way, will eventually be broken, because eventually it would imply the price is always below the 20-week SMA whenever the trend line goes below zero. So eventually it will be broken. Maybe the next run up will break it. But the point is to say that so far, nothing's out of the ordinary, right? Nothing's out of the ordinary at all, okay? So I want us to, let's be open-minded as we continue to navigate this Bitcoin market cycle. Let's be, cognizant of the fact that altcoins are unlikely to put in new all-time highs. It doesn't mean that some can't. I would love it if the altcoins that I hold are able to put in new all-time highs before then. But I would be very skeptical that they could actually, most of them, I would be very skeptical of them having the ability to put in new all-time highs, especially with Bitcoin trading well below its 20-week SMA. And the thing is, it's not even just below the 20-week SMA, it's significantly below the 20-week SMA. I mean, if you go to the 20-week SMA and you go down, I mean, we're trading, 26, 27% or so below the 20-week SMA. So it's not like we're flirting with this value. So I think that as we navigate things, we need to be very flexible with where we see the market. I would also say that, in terms of Bitcoin's current location, like where it currently is, I just, as I've said before, I think we need time. I really do. Time is on our side. I think in the grand scheme of the cycle, time is also on our side outside of the market cycle as well. Just in general, time is on our side if you just don't even ever want to take profits and you just want to hold it for like 20 years. I would contend that time is on our side. But, the idea that we have to immediately go back up and put in new all-time highs, I think is a little bit too optimistic. So let's be patient with things. Let's see where things take us. As we said before, at the very least, we're going to get this summer lull in the market. Seems to be playing out. So let's just keep churning away. It's now the first week of July is over. We'll continue churning away. We'll see where we are, in a month or two, and see how the market looks. But of course, we'll provide updates between now and then. But sometimes it's good to just take a step back, look to see where are we with respect to the 20-week SMA, and also hammer home the points about how altcoins perform depending on where Bitcoin is in relation to the 20-week simple moving average. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Remember to check out the premium list at intothecryptoverse.com if you want to know how I'm navigating these markets. Thank you guys for tuning in. Click the bell icon to turn on your notifications, and I will see you next time. Bye.